So the next topic we're going to delve into is kind of a heavy topic. We're going to talk about the trial of former United States Olympic team doctor Larry Nassar and also former staff member at Michigan State University. This case is about over 150 women who have come forward alleging sexual abuse at the hands of Dr. Larry Nassar. I took the time to watch the witness testimony from about 4 of the days. I watched maybe 25 witnesses come up and tell their stories. Some of them took 2 minutes, some of them took a half hour. They were all very courageous in being able to step on the stage, and they all described the same exact thing happening to them. This guy here is not worth anything. He is the worst kind of person. He received, I think at this point, over 100 years in prison, up to 175. He had a female lawyer, which was surprising to me. He had a female judge, which was just. One of the testimonies that stuck out most to me, one of the victims was telling her story, and she was questioning the lawyer and saying, how could you waste your degree? How could you waste all your studying as a woman to represent a monster like this? And the lawyer had the nerve to try to object to that testimony. And the judge shut the lawyer down and was like, I think you can handle what she's saying. Imagine being the lawyer in that situation. Why would you ever, outside of, I guess she maybe wants personal gain for handling such a big case, but as a woman, why would you ever try to represent someone who is accused of assaulting over 150 young children and was a monster about it, and showed no real emotion in the court? And I think I could never do it. I could never represent someone like that. And I guess kudos to her, and I guess not kudos to her for being a defense attorney and taking a high profile case like that, but I would never do it. There's nothing you can do to justify his actions. Now, if it was one girl that accused him and he was innocent, then that's one thing. But you have 150 fucking people accusing him of the same thing. I feel like that's kind of tough to try to sit there and defend.
Yeah, but kind of like what James was saying earlier, how he was mentioning that he would never take that high-profile case, but I feel like, as messed up as it sounds, someone had to take the case, I feel like everyone has their right to have any type of lawyer if they can afford it, and then you get a public defender. So, me personally, I wouldn't want the case, but, I can understand why someone had to take the case. But going back to the original topic, I do applaud the women for speaking out against him, and I feel like he deserves every day in prison for what he had done, to those girls. But yeah, this is a touchy subject, and I feel like, this is not the only time we hear cases like this, but this definitely is a high-profile situation because of, he was a doctor of the gymnastics team, and, he is pretty famous to some degree. But, I do applaud the women for speaking out, and hopefully that this does encourage other girls going forward to speak out against their abusers, regardless of, if it's like a profession or someone they work with or family members whatsoever, and hopefully it kind of shed light into a serious issue in this country.
And this case here really makes you understand why Hammurabi's Code existed. Because someone that does something like this, I don't even think making them sit in jail is cruel enough. Like, should all the women just get to stone him? Like, I feel like it's not enough that he's just going to sit in a room for the rest of his life. Like, I get the psychological damage that's going to do to him, but that is not even, a splash in the ocean or a drop in the ocean compared to the psychological damage that he has done to his victims. Like, I feel like there needs to be more. Like, it really, to me, it's not enough. Like, go to jail 175 years. No one's living that long. That's not enough. He's what is he, 58 years old? He's in his 50s or 60s. Sentencing to anything more, he's 54, so sentencing him to anything more than 50 years is just kind of like showing off. Like, hey, we're going to throw another 125 at you. Like, he's never going to serve those years. He's not, and that's just not fair, because the woman that he abused are going to serve the punishment every single day of their life. One of the girls in the testimony was talking about how sometimes she's with her boyfriend and she just doesn't want to be touched by him, doesn't want to be near him because of what she remembers had happened to her. And that is not okay for someone to have to deal with something like that. And to give a guy a 175-year sentence when he's only going to have to serve maximum 50 of it, and that would be a miracle at that, is kind of foolish to me.
I agree, with what, you guys were saying, and I think the biggest thing for me here is that you look at the Me Too movement, you look at...
Clarify for Floyd Mayweather, please.
Just, all the women who are coming out and, sharing, not even just details. I mean, just how powerful these two words were, said everything that, there needed to be said about just how rampant this thing is. And when you get into things like this, these things happen at the rate that they do because of how interwoven it is in society. We live in a patriarchy. Men have always had power, and unfortunately it gets swept under the rug as something that you need to do to survive, and people get into this bit where it's like, oh well, that's how the world is. You are Allie Raceman, and unfortunately I'm sure there were people who were telling her that this is just the world and somehow this is a price to pay. But I love where we're at as a society, where we're finally putting our foot down, and we're at least trying to enact some sort of justice. And obviously, again, as you said, there's no amount of years of this man sitting in a jail cell that is going to make up for what was done. Hell, even if he got the death penalty, that doesn't take away what was done. The people who sat idly by and allowed this to continue going, especially when they knew about this, they deserve to all lose their jobs. So I'm looking here. I know Michigan State's president resigned,
which was part of one of the girls' testimonies. She said she'll be continuing her education at Michigan State in the fall, and she better have a new president by the time she gets there. And it appears as though her wish has been granted.
Yeah, I believe the athletic director is also out.
Did you see what the president said, though? The Michigan State president? The Michigan State president pretty much said that, like, in situations like this, there has to be, like, a fall guy, essentially. So she essentially was, like, ushering off the blame and was like, I gotta be the fall guy for this situation. It's just, like, outrageous. You just shut your mouth, you take your resignation, and you shut up. You're the president.
Be glad that that's all that's happening with you when all of this shit happened under your watch.
It's what we learned in school. They could be hit with the lack of institutional control, and lose their athletic program. And no one's going to Michigan State really for the top-notch education they offer. One of the big draws that Michigan State has is their prowess in athletics.
Mm-hmm. I don't buy for a second that any of these types of things are stuff that people don't know what's going on. But, money's flowing and winning is happening, and people don't want to, disrupt that or interrupt that, for moral causes, for the right thing. These people all deserve to lose their job. I am never somebody that is applauding that or wanting that to happen in any other situation, but for something like this, it deserves to happen. We can sit here and talk for who knows how long about Larry Nassar, and that's why I'm not really trying to, dig into that. There's no bit of rationalizing him and his actions, but for other people involved with this, I don't know how you sleep having been aware of this. There was also something on Emmert, and he knew and did nothing, and that's something that's really foreign to me, how you can be aware of this and just not do anything. Like, I don't know how you sleep at night.
And I want to take a second to just read the quote, so I'm not paraphrasing as much, the resignation letter from President Simon at Michigan State. She was eloquent in her first couple of paragraphs, and then she got to a point in her fifth paragraph or so where it says, "As tragedies are politicized, blame is inevitable. As president, it is only natural that I am the focus of this anger. I understand, and that is why I have limited my personal statements." That's just a couple sentences that did not need to be put in this at all. No one wants to hear you cry, "Woe is me," that you're being blamed for this. Because it's the same thing with the Jerry Sandusky case. In any organization, when you're at the top, you're expected to know what is going on beneath you. And if you know what's going on beneath you is immoral, then you need to report it. And you need to make sure that you do the best of your abilities to eliminate it. And the way it seems right now, that hasn't been the case at Michigan State. And that wasn't the case at the USA Gymnastics. And that's why all the dominoes are starting to fall. And the investigation is happening. And there's been a special prosecutor assigned to investigate every person that knew about this and who swept it under the rug for the monster that is Larry Nassar.
And another thing, too, that, I really kind of feel for in all this is the people affected. And, I hope that there is some way that they are able to not be, I guess, haunted by it. I can never put myself in their shoes and in their experience, and I'm sure, knowing that, again, there's some element of justice that is served, there's some element of consequences that have come from this. I just I feel for them and the fact that this happened and this is now their lives, and as you were saying, one of the women and how it's impacted her relationship that she's in now. And that's the craziest thing about these things, is they have lifelong impacts that are far-reaching, and the fact that someone's capable of this is insane, and I don't really have words for it.
Money's not going to help, but I hope that each one of these victims are able to cash out on this and get some type of monetary compensation, or who knows, maybe the university or Michigan State University should be offering free education for all these victims and or their children if they're past that point in life. So hopefully that can bridge the gap